You ever walk down the street or even at a barbecue with your family and you see your uncle or like your older cousin or like just one of them OGs and they walk up to you and they're like, "Hey, young buck, like I stay in school, young buck. Focus on yourself, young buck. You don't want to end up like me. You don't want to end up like me. I was in them streets. I was doing this. I was going crazy. I don't want you to be like me. Don't be like me." And you're just like stuck there listening to them talk for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes about how they made every single possible mistake in their life. And you know you're not gonna make those mistakes, but you obviously giving him the space to vent because that man is hurting and he probably ain't tell nobody that in like 6 days. So yeah. You see the title, Make Peace with Your Past. Or you're gonna end up like bro I just talked about at the beginning. You're gonna end up like OG. You don't wanna be like OG. OG is obviously a real OG isn't gonna be in that position, but like the OG I'm talking about, pretty much that's just somebody who probably grew up a certain way, did things a certain way, and they didn't live the life that they were supposed to live. They weren't on their purpose. They weren't even remotely close to their purpose. Everything they did was in reverse to themselves and to God. And they look back at it at 65, 70, 50, 40, and they realize they messed up. And they realize that they can never get that time back. They can never go back. So what am I getting at? What am I insinuating? Well, two different things. One thing is stay on your purpose. That's not the title. That's not the main focus of the video. But the other focus or the other thing is making peace with your past. They need to make peace with their past. But the reason why they didn't make peace with their past now is because they didn't do it when they were younger. If you're my age, 20, 21, 25, 18, if you're around that age, right, and you want to be something, whether that's, like whatever you want to be in life, you want to make it happen, you need to understand these things. Yes, work ethic is important. Yes, working on yourself is important. But what does that actually mean, Because it's not just about going to the gym. It's not just about doing these specific things that are talked about all the time. Yeah, boom, 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 go to the gym, boom, boom, eat healthy, boom, boom, do this, go outside, talk to people, learn. But no one really tells you that you have to change your subconscious brain. No one tells you that there's demons that you need to heal from. There's things that you need to overcome. And there's a process of doing that in order to make room for your new self, to make room for your new growth. You cannot thrive with old habits and new habits living in one. It just doesn't work that way. One of them is going to kick one out. Like, that's just how it works. So understand, do you want the new habits or do you want the old habits? If you're watching this, you probably want the new habits. So what does that have to do with making peace with your past? Well, I wrote some notes down. I have 4 topics that I want to prove or show you guys that I think will help. So the first thing, arguably the most important thing that you are going to have to learn/unlearn is understanding what your environment did to you, okay? Whether you are from a 2-person household, 1-person household, grew up with your grandparents, was homeless, whatever, face of eviction, whatever your upbringing was, you have to understand that your environment shaped your first ever mindset of what life was supposed to be, whether that was positive or negative. So if you had 2 toxic parents, you learned toxicity right off the bat, and maybe you thought that was normal, and now you attract toxic people in your life. If you grew up in a household where people didn't really have money that much, maybe you are struggling with money, or you're struggling with saving, you're struggling with making because you have a limiting belief that like your environment has created and cultivated different aspects of who you are now. And you have to be extremely aware of that. You have to go inside your mind and you have to unlearn a lot of things that you were taught, because those things will unfortunately hold you back in your future. Even right now, it will hold you back because you don't want to be the person who makes a lot of money, but since you never you never focused on learning how to actually keep it or learning how to actually double it or become this, that, and the third, you lose it. Or every single time you have somebody positive in your life, you push them away because you're used to toxic people in your life. Like, these are all things that come from your environment. These are all things that come from how you grew up. You're not just a sick, crazy, bad individual. You're just somebody who needs to heal from those past. Number 2, I have life choices. So all of you guys, all of you guys are human. You guys make mistakes. And you've probably made a mistake in your life that maybe you regret. But if you have no regrets, all props to you. That's fire. But for the rest of us, we probably got some regrets. We probably got some things that we wish we wouldn't have done, or we probably got some things that we wish we could have did better. And some of y'all may have not healed from it. Well, there's only 2 ways to genuinely heal from those things. The first thing is inevitable. Time heals all. So, yes, it's going to be a waiting game when it comes to healing from your decisions and from the things that you've done. You're just going to have to wait, and you're going to have to let time prevail. You're going to have to learn to accept it, accept yourself, accept the life you chose, accept everything, and move on from it. But the other way is to sit down and actually understand why you regret your decisions. Understand where your head was at, and understand that you probably made the best decision for yourself at the time and you didn't know what you were doing, or you didn't understand what you were doing. Because unfortunately, the mass majority of us make these conscious decisions, even if they're the wrong ones, because we think it's the best in our interest. Those things, are something that we have to live with. Those things are something that we have to accept. And those things should not define you and should not define your future. It should not define what you're going to create and how you're going to create it. And a lot of you guys let these past things stop you from blooming or becoming what you were supposed to become. So, yes, make peace with that. The last thing that I have is just kind of more details on how to do that. Find awareness. How do you find awareness? How do you become more aware of your thoughts? How do you become more aware of your habits, of your traits, of your shadow, if you will? How does one do so? Well, meditation is always going to be the first thing I preach when it comes to learning about yourself. Because meditation, all it does is it forces you to be in a state of reflection. It forces you to be in a state of calmness, in a state of isolation within the outside world. So when you are meditating, specifically in silence, you're stuck with your thoughts. The more that you build a relationship with your thoughts, the more you realize that you are not your thoughts, you are the viewer of your thoughts. When you come to that agreement with yourself, you realize, okay, I'm a viewer of my thoughts. I'm not my thoughts. So if I'm a viewer of my thoughts, doesn't that mean I can change my thoughts? Doesn't that mean I can turn my thoughts off? Doesn't that mean I can dictate what to think about, when to think about it? To all of those questions, yes. That's exactly what that means. So if you're not already meditating, I genuinely, wholeheartedly recommend you start doing that. If you want to learn how to do so, drop a comment. I will make a video on it. If you really, really want to learn how to do so, I got one-on-ones. Join my one-on-ones. But other than meditation, the other thing that I would say is just journaling. That is something that has been a forefront of my life for a while, being able to reflect, especially at the end of the day, everything that happened today, everything that happened that you wanted to happen, and everything that happened that you didn't want to happen. And realizing, okay, boom, why did these things that I didn't want to happen? Oh, I was scrolling. Oh, I was not conscious, my subconscious mind, I have a habit or addiction that I need to get over. All of these things you must reflect on daily. That is a part of making peace with your past, because now you are able to move better. You're able to move smarter. You're able to work harder. You're able to have more focus. You're able to be more locked into whatever the goal was supposed to be. So yeah, this one is a really short one today. I just want to kind of emphasize the importance and the realness of making peace with your past and understanding that that is just as important as any other habit. Anything, whether that's looks maxing, whether that's gym maxing, whether that's business maxing. You also need to mental health max. That's without your mind, nothing else matters. So you know what to do. If you like it, if you rock with it, send it to somebody who can relate, who can learn, who can help. And if you want to work, come work. If you don't, you're lost. I don't care.